I thank the Prime Minister of Tuvalu for his statement. The Assembly will now hear a statement by His Excellency Freundel Stuart, Prime Minister of Barbados.
Mr. President, there are defining moments in human affairs when differences dividing countries and cultures are laid aside in pursuit of the higher common purpose of benefiting all humanity. Our modern era has witnessed two such moments: the Millennium Development Declaration in the year 2000, and now the post-2015 Development Agenda. The gathering of world leaders to adopt 8 international development goals, some 15 years ago, represented unprecedented hope at the dawn of a new millennium. The Millennium Development Goals highlighted the intention of the global community to eradicate extreme poverty and hunger and to promote sustained economic growth and sustainable development. Since independence in 1966, Barbados has pursued the goal of eradicating many of the social and economic contradictions which we inherited from our colonial past. In that connection, the administration over which I have the honor to preside has crafted the vision of creating a Barbados that is socially balanced, economically viable, environmentally sound, and characterized by good governance. That vision brings us squarely in line with the ideals embodied in the International Development Agenda, which this special session of the United Nations has been convened to endorse. Mr. President, the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, developed a set of region-specific MDGs to cater to the unique realities of our region and member states. Gender, violence, and chronic non-communicable diseases were and are among our priorities. Though buttressed by our dreams, our progress in achieving the MDGs was regrettably limited by our capacity to finance our development objectives. With the citizens of the world impatient for progress, we must invest our collective intellectual capital and the technology at our disposal to design the tools and devise the mechanisms to realize the promise of our stated goals. Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development provides us with the blueprint to achieve the transformation we seek. But that blueprint must be translated into reality and take us seamlessly from the 8 goals and 18 targets of the MDGs to the 17 goals and 169 targets of the SDGs. The unprecedented scope of Agenda 2030 rises to the challenges facing today's interconnected world and is firmly rooted in the 3 dimensions of sustainable development: the economic, the environmental, and the social. Importantly, it is undergirded by a people-centered and planet-sensitive ethos, with people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership at its core. Mr. President, the outcome of the 3rd International Conference on Financing for Development, the Addis Ababa Action Agenda, specifies the policies and actions to finance the sustainable development of our countries. Now is the time for us to address the need to develop transparent measurements of progress that reach far beyond the narrow scope of gross domestic product per capita. Small island developing states like ours should not be punished for the limited development that we have been able to achieve, very often against stubborn and unyielding odds. The third International Conference of Small Island Developing States, held last year in Samoa, built on the platforms of the prior Barbados Program of Action of 1994 and the Mauritius Strategy of Implementation of the year 2005. It reinforced unequivocally the status of SIDS as a special case for sustainable development in view of their unique and particular vulnerabilities. The long-term effects of climate change, including the ravages of more frequent, intense, and destructive natural disasters, pose an existential threat to small island developing states. The recent devastation of our sister country, Dominica, by Tropical Storm Erica is a stark reminder of this peril. Barbados and other CARICOM countries are firmly of the view that climate change can only be tackled by a comprehensive international effort grounded in the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. For us, sustainable development and climate change are inextricably linked. Let us use the momentum of this summit to ensure the adoption of a meaningful and ambitious accord in Paris at the 21st Conference of the Parties to the UNFCCC. Mr. President, our region desperately requires a strategy of debt relief in order to create more fiscal space and engineer much-needed economic development in order to realize the goals set out in Agenda 2030. A re-examination of the bases for the graduation of the countries of our region from access to concessional finance remains an urgent necessity. As we look towards the future, it is important, indeed necessary, for previously agreed commitments to be kept. The United Nations, on the strength of its universal membership, legitimacy, and comprehensive mandate, will play a pivotal role over the next 15 years towards the goal of sustainable development. But we cannot put new wine into old wineskins. As we consider the post-2015 development agenda, adequate, consistent, and predictable financial support must be mobilized and allocated for the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. The acid tests of the value of these goals will be their impact on the quality of life of ordinary men, women, and children everywhere. Mr. President, the United Nations was created at a time when the world was grappling with the political and economic consequences of a global war. 70 years later, though much has changed, we have failed to eliminate the scourge of war. Development cannot be achieved in the absence of peace. The post-2015 development agenda is our compass as we continue on the journey towards a better world for all. With political will and dedicated action, Agenda 2030 will ensure a safe and secure future for current and future generations. We cannot allow this historic opportunity to slip from our grasp. Thank you very much.
I thank the Prime Minister of Barbados.